This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show, dude, episode number 367. A little change of scenery as my studio is literally currently right now being renovated. You might even hear some of it as we talk. But I'm super excited for our guest. And in fact, she is actually the second Dee Dee this month. So please help me welcome at this time, Dee Dee Sorvino. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? And congratulations in your studio. You can tell mine's so fancy. I actually have a fancy one in LA, but I'm not in LA right now. So we're.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Indiana.
What are you doing in Indiana?
I live in Indiana. I love Indiana. I hate LA. I go to the work. I do movies and whatever I got to do there, but it sucks. That's just my opinion. I love Indiana.
So were you born in Indiana then, or
I was born in Kentucky, which I can see Kentucky at my back terrace. I'm right on the Ohio River, so I spend my time in New York, LA for work, Vegas a little bit, and in Indiana whenever I can get away and be in the real world.
That's awesome. I'm down in Florida, so I'm Paul and
I were in Florida. Poor Paul, died 7 months ago, but the last year of his life, we were in Jacksonville, and we loved it.
Wow, yeah. Florida is like this weird, somewhere in the middle between that Midwest and then the big city.
Depends which side. If you're in Miami, it's a little New York. If you're on the other side, it's Indiana, Michigan, Midwest for sure. So it depends where you are. Where are you, by the way?
Right smack dab in the middle, right in Orlando.
Orlando, great. Well, I can't go wrong there.
No, well, yeah, it's a little crazy right now, right?
Everything. It's great. It's got a great airport. You got great food because of Disney World, and you got the Gators. You got all kinds of excitement. It's great. And of course, the governor is making really big news with Disney and all that. So yeah, lots going on there for sure.
There is so much going on, and that's a whole other that could take an hour at another time. But of course, we are here to chat about your new project, your Sorvino Vino. How did I think a lot of people know that you and Paul had a cookbook. So was this something that kind of, I guess, maybe stemmed from that?
You're very smart. Yes, it's exactly what happened. We wanted to do a cookbook because, we love food and drink and big time. I mean, look, Paul's more food, I was more liquor. But, together we drank, I don't know, like 800 vats of wine together. I'm not sure. But, we loved wine and food. And sure, we did the cookbook, which is a beautiful book. And it is a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it, a labor of love. And then we wanted to do a wine. I mean, there's a wine guide in the back, but the wine business is not easy. It's involved. So, it took a while. And unfortunately, Paul died before, we could make it come to fruition. But he knew it was coming. And he said, look, I really want this to happen. And the spirit of Paul is around me all of the time. So he knows and he's happy about it. And I just couldn't be more pleased. So thank you for bringing that up. And it's sorvinovino.com. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. The winery we were in partnership with is in Temecula, California.
Right. Yeah.
Lorimar.
Yeah, with Lorimar Winery, absolutely, very famous winery and vineyard, as you said, in Temecula. That for people who are connoisseurs, definitely know the name Lorimar.
Yeah, my understanding is, and it's funny because I just saw this on a travel show. I love travel shows, talking about food, drink, culture. Right. So they were talking about how Temecula is top 10, not in California, but overall a top 10 destination because, you always think of Napa, but also Temecula is huge with wine. There are a ton of wineries there. So, and the wine is similar to Tuscany, Italy. So
Right.
we are thrilled with that. It's a gorgeous winery. They do a lot of events or into, cultural events. And it's just a very nice partnership. It's something that Paul and I are very excited about. I still am. And it's going to work out really well. We'll do a big party there and you'll be invited, of course.
Oh, fantastic. Now, so I want to talk about the cookbook a little. Cookbook was called Pinot Pasta and Parties. How long did it take you from concept to final product? Which similar to how long did it take you from concept to final product for your wine?
Well, the wine took longer because the wine business is very competitive and it's just involved. But really great business. But the wine thought and the book, I think the wine idea was 5 minutes after we started the book. So pretty much about the same time. And the book is involved. And the reason, it didn't take long to get a book deal. The book folks wanted it right away. Chefs, our publisher, they're like 1, 2, or 3 in the world. They're a very big publisher. And they loved the concept because we did full menus. A lot of times cookbooks have a potato chapter or a meat chapter. And I'm like, that is so boring. No thing. So what we did is we did a full menu starting out with a cocktail, and then we did the appetizer and then the meal, and dessert and that sort of thing, and made it like that. So every chapter is a party theme and a full menu. So it's kind of like a TV show, really. That was sort of, my thinking of it. And people, the publishers loved it, and it's gone really well. It's a beautiful book. And, and it's so nice to have that now that Paul's gone, because, it's just something I can kind of leaf through and, and remember, because, boy, do we make a lot of messes in the kitchen with that, and not everything made it. Not everything made it. So it was really involved, but a lot of fun. But I would give a word to the wise: if someone wants to do a cookbook, make sure you've got a great kitchen, make sure you've got someone who's really good at writing. We had to write and rewrite, because Paul's cooking was very much, hey, there's a splash of this, a dash of that, no measuring. And I told
measurements, right?
You got to measure. It's a cookbook. People are going to be reading this to be able to cook like you. And that was it. Not foreign to him, but it's kind of weird, because he's sort of like, well, I just cook and I don't think about it. I said, well, unfortunately, got to think about it. So that was something for him. But I had a ball putting the drinks together. I mean, every time it was a drink day, everybody had a ball.
Right. So when have you gone through the your cookbook and made, I guess, mental reminders, even physical reminders of what in the cookbook that Sorvino Vino matches well with, that you can go back and tell people later?
Absolutely. So Sorvino Vino is a bold wine. It is not light. It's bold and smooth. So what would go well with Sorvino Vino would be the meatballs and the lasagna and like the traditional heavier meals. Not really a fish.
Right.
Because we do have fish. We do, have like a little bit of everything. But with this wine, it's traditional, like Southern Italy food. No doubt about it. Even like, a lot of the desserts, I think this wine goes well with. I don't think, I've never thought you had to have a dessert wine with the dessert. You can do that, but that's a heck of a lot of sugar, I think. So this wine, unless it's a super light dish, and I would say most of our dishes are medium to heavy.
Okay.
This is not like a vegan. This is not like a vegetarian. This is not like a diet cookbook. This is like love to eat, love to drink, love life book. You're not going to lose weight with this book.
Man, that's the way I like. That is definitely the way that I like to eat. So I have to ask. So prior to meeting Paul and being with Paul, were you big into pasta and wine pairings as well?
Not pasta. The pasta thing came with Paul, because I'm Scott-Irish. I was all about the potatoes with every single meal. I'm from the Midwest, so it's meat and potatoes. So with Paul, I think growing up we had pasta maybe once a month. We'd have it every day with Paul. Paul was big on pasta. He had to have pasta. If not every day, every other day. So,
right.
changed a lot, and I probably gained a lot of weight, but it didn't matter. We were just having fun. I mean, we're going to eat and drink anything we want. Never thought about it. But after Paul was gone, I did lose about 10 pounds. I mean, so that pasta will pack it on. Not that I minded. It was fine and enjoying life, but that is different. That was not, I'm not Italian, so that was not something I was eating all the time. So that's a great question, actually. But wine, I always loved wine. That was something that was always kind of part of my, after I turned 21, because I really didn't drink before 21. I waited. And when I did that, I really drank a lot. I drink a lot of wine anyway. But we always wanted to have fun every day, and we did. We really did. So food and drink was a big part of our lives. So it's such an honor for me and such a thrill to be able to continue that with Sorvino Vino. And it's just sorvinovino.com. It's, the laws are funny. I mean, because not every state can buy it. So the states that are a little more popular. I mean, it's the big states, Temecula and Lorimar, they have Florida. You can buy it in Florida. But in my home state of Indiana, I hate it because, they don't have the license for that yet. So I have to keep telling my folks, and I'm like, well, can't you get the bootleg bottles? And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. We'll see. But yeah, just having a ball. And of course, I was involved in politics before Paul. And then when I married him, I changed that because, Hollywood, I'm a right winger. So the Hollywood people didn't like me at all. And then give Paul a hard time. So I just stopped all of that because when you get married, it's a partnership. And I didn't want to give him, I didn't want him getting a hard time because I would go on Fox and all these shows and I'd have political debates. So when I married him, I became a full-fledged actress and I would just do all these things with him. So Paul and I did everything together. We had a wonderful life. And I would say that, if you're having a bad relationship with somebody, whether it's a friendship or more, have lots of wine and dinners together, and that'll probably change.
That's a great point. Now, you Sorvino Vino, as you said, sitting down doing dinners, came out just last week on Valentine's Day. How important was that for you, for it to come out specifically on Valentine's Day?
Oh, thank you for asking that, because that was a big deal for me, and I was upset about it because when you have a wine business, you have to have the label approved by the federal government, and you never know how long that's going to take. And it took forever, never. And finally they approved it. And then we didn't have time to get the wine out for Valentine's Day because our plan was to have it out so people could buy it for Valentine's Day.
Right.
But then Lorimar put something out, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just put the release out Valentine's Day, because I feel like, what am I going to do? I'm not doing anything Valentine's Day other than being sad that Paul's gone. So you know what? Let's turn grapes into wine or lemon into limoncello, and let's just announce it on Valentine's Day. So at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that had not happened yet, and we just kind of put it together. We originally wanted to do it, but the feds kind of, we thought the feds and think, well, you know what? People don't have to buy it right then, but they'll be able to. So we were able to get it all up and get it together on Valentine's Day. So thank you for asking that, because that's important to me now. Now it's always like, well, every Valentine's Day we can think about that we launched the wine.
Absolutely. I think that's a great reminder. And I think that's definitely a great reminder of Paul and your love and his love for each other. And just that time spent together, I think is a perfect reminder. I want to backtrack a little bit. Now, you said, you reminded everyone that you did have, that you had a political and television career. Now, you are an Emmy Award winner. Where do you keep do you have a trophy, and where do you keep it?
I do. I've got it on the shelf right by the television. I thought that was a good place for it. So I've got the Emmy, and I've got pictures of Paul, and I've got champagne and wine glasses and that sort of thing. So yeah, you always wonder, I don't have more than one. I'd like to get another one day, but so I keep it by the TV.
That's a great place for it. Now, you just be like, when you're given a tour of your house, you just be like, oh, and here's the TV, and then maybe let their own eyes.
It's not something to miss, because I have to tell you, it is the prettiest award. But look, the Oscar is just the gold guy playing.
Right.
The Emmy is a beautiful award. The SAG award is this dude without a wiener, so it's kind of weird. But it's It is a dude without a wiener, so I almost feel like this is some liberal Hollywood thing. I don't know. You can ask them. That's another show. And then the Golden Globe, which is another kind of a stick with a ball on it. So I'm just saying the Emmy is the prettiest award, and everyone notices it. So I really don't have to say anything.
Absolutely, yeah. That's great. So I think you've talked about meeting Paul before on a lot of shows, a lot of interviews, doing backstage. So, but how did he has previous children? How did, if you don't mind me asking, how did did you get along with them as your families blended?
Well, it's kind of weird because, I'm the third wife, and they have their mother. So, I'm in touch with the second kid, because we just have more of the same interests. But
Right.
the other ones, I really don't. It's not that I really have much in common with. So after, during the marriage, sure, we would do things or talk or whatever. But after the fact, people just have their lives, and
Right.
one has 4 kids. I mean, how do you do anything else with 4 kids in a career? And it's just, so I'd say it was kind of a normal situation for what it was. But his oldest kid is my same age. So it was just, not
Right.
not awkward, but just different. I mean, that would be hard for me to imagine in that position, being the same age as like your, being the same age and you being your dad's wife. I think that would be a little weird, and you kind of laugh about it when it's in movies, but then I experienced it. So I've never thought I'd marry some old dude, but I did. But I couldn't help myself. I didn't plan on it. But you never plan on,
Right.
what do you do? I mean, love is love. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's such an age difference. But it worked out, and we were so happy every day. So people that talk about age differences, I mean, there are pluses and minuses with it. But if you love someone, it doesn't matter. Age is just a number.
I wholeheartedly agree. Now, I do want to talk about something that I saw online, and now you are chatting with me here on my show, on my podcast. But can you tell us a little bit about Drinks with Dee Dee?
Oh, it's nuts. You are so mature and so professional next to what we do. It is crazy. I just, wanted to do that for like bar talk. I wanted it to be just like a virtual bar, and it is. I mean, people get drunk, people get nuts, people are rude, people get thrown off. I mean, it's mayhem, so, yeah, I mean, you're a professional. I am not. When it comes to the podcast, that's just pure fun, craziness. Paul did several episodes, and it was just a ball. But we definitely don't follow any rules, and we just, have bad language, and we offend people. It's just almost the South Park of podcasts. It's so bad. So, but if you like that, tune in. It's never boring. It's on all podcast platforms, Drinks with Dee Dee. So if you want a crazy time, tune in. If you want professional and lovely like your show, we're not for you.
Well, I try to.
We have fun. We have fun every week.
I try to keep it on the straight and narrow, and make everybody happy. But yeah, I can definitely see the appeal of that the no rules. It just seems like
it's a bar.
That's fantastic. So have you been able to break into one of your own bottles on the show yet?
You know what? I have to be honest with you. I don't have it yet. I think it's actually waiting for me at the post office, and I have not had a minute. I have 3 interviews today about the wine, and I have a birthday party to plan, and I've got all these shows. I have not even had a chance to go get it. So I am drinking wine. It's a good little wine, but it's not as good as Sorvino Vino. But I'm never going to fake it. I'm not a fake, so I'm not going to lie. Say, oh yeah, this is Sorvino Vino. This is great. Now I know what it tastes like because I tested it and we went through all of that. So it's really great. But right now in my hand, I do not have it.
That's unfortunate.
And I want as many people to have it as possible. But being in Indiana, it's a little bit difficult right now. But they're not even. Oops, I'm not even supposed to say they sent it to me. But I'm thinking there should be a clause there for the owner of the company to be able to have their own wine.
Right. Absolutely.
They're not selling it to me. It's my wine, so I think it's. I don't think I'm breaking any rules with that.
All right, Dee Dee. Now I do want to get a little controversial now. Let's talk about Pete Rose in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I know this is something that's,
not
you know,
controversial to me, and I love Charlie Hustle. He should have been in the Hall of Fame 100 years ago. This is crap. What is wrong with these people? Everyone loves Pete Rose in Cincinnati. Pete Rose I mean, it is ridiculous for him not to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm sick of it.
absolutely. I'm going to agree with you 100%. I feel like he did his time. And the fact that like gambling is everywhere now, especially in sports. I think
Look how overweight he was, and he got the job done anyway. And look at these sports figures that take the drugs and they get away with it. You know, I'm mad because, you know, he can't get in the Hall of Fame for just nothing now compared to what these like losers do. You know, the people that are using the drugs and, you know, and who the heck, I mean, other ones are getting, you know, accused of sexual harassment and who the heck knows. In other words, humans are humans and they make mistakes, and it does not take away from the job he did in baseball. I think it's crap. I mean, are they the church people? Are they the people that are judging you on the top? You know, I'm sorry, but I think it should just be on your ability. It should be a meritocracy. Who are you to judge Pete Rose or anybody else? What did you do last night? I'm wondering. You know what I mean? How would they like to everybody to look in on their personal life? This is crap. So yeah, I love Pete Rose, and surely to goodness he's going to get in the Baseball Hall of Fame sooner than later.
I would think so eventually, right? I would think so. Somebody eventually down the road
have done in the sport, and then they still get these awards, and it's like nobody cares, but they care about what Pete Rose did. Big deal, and it just doesn't matter what, in my opinion, when he did off the field anyway. It's what he did on the field.
100%. Nobody's going to match his hits record ever. So I don't know. It's really, really unfortunate. I agree. I'm a huge Pete Rose fan. And I think he should be in the Hall. So I did want to get a little,
Natty, why are you a fan of Pete Rose? I know.
Well, I'm a huge baseball fan. So I'm a huge baseball fan, first off. And the dude's nickname was Charlie Hustle because that's how he played. So I am a fan of that style. You know, he was in his twilight of his playing career when as I was growing up. So I did get to watch him on TV and stuff. And just, again, that style of play, that hustle, that was everything to me, you know, growing up. So I'm a huge fan.
You know, Rocky IV was on last night, you know, and he goes against the Russian, and he's having to do it the old-fashioned way and the hard way, and the Russian is getting shot up with drugs. This makes me think of Pete Rose. He did it the hard way, and he had a gut hanging off of him, and he did it anyway. He wasn't taking any drugs. You know, he wasn't getting any help. Who cares what he did outside of baseball? I don't know. I don't really care about that. And I think most people don't. I know in Cincinnati, they love him.
Absolutely.
Love him. Everybody in Cincinnati. I mean, you might find one or two people that don't get it, but I'm telling you, it's overwhelming that the people in his hometown want it. So, boy, that'll be a good day. You know, I think we have to just believe that it is going to happen. So we'll be there, right? We'll be there that day cheering him on.
Absolutely. Well, at least he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, so at least he has that. So
right, at least.
So I think I want to do now is called the Milo Beasley Show Frequently Asked Questions. I'm going to ask you the same 5 questions that I ask every single one of my guests. There's no wrong or right answer. I guess there could be, but I wouldn't know. So question number 1, what was the first concert you ever attended?
In Cincinnati. Hey, Dee Dee, won't you come out tonight? La da la na 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 na. And I know you don't know who sings that. If you do, I'll laugh. But it's Sean Cassidy, and I'll tell you, it's funny.
Oh, Sean
Cassidy, and I joined Girl Scouts only so I could go to. I've heard they were going to the Sean Cassidy concert, and I'm like, well, I think I'm gonna have to join Girl Scouts. And after I went, I may have gone to one more meeting, and that was it. I used the Girl Scouts to get to Sean Cassidy. But that was my first concert in Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's fantastic. Oh gosh, man, what a great story. I love it.
Yeah, I just on the Girl Scouts, I dumped them after I went to Sean Cassidy. That's terrible. It was
question number 2. I'm interested in this one. Question number 2. Do you believe in ghosts?
Oh yeah, Totally. I feel the spirits all the time. Paul's around me all the time. When we did a seance at the Hollywood Museum and my hat kept flying off and we all knew it was Paul. So yeah, absolutely I do. I don't think we die. I think we just transition. And so I'm a big believer in that. And I know it. I don't think it. I know it. I feel it.
I don't know if I would be in part of it. That kind of stuff freaks me out. So I don't know if I could do that.
I loved it. It was great. I thought
All
right
right.
now.
Question number 3 is a twist on a common question, but in a movie about your life, who would play your parents?
Well, I'll do my mom a favor and say Elizabeth Taylor.
Okay.
My mom is very beautiful. She might be more Ava Gardner, but somewhere in between, either one would work. I'm sure she wouldn't complain about either one. My dad, probably Alan Alda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
I mean, that's as close as I can get. That works.
Yeah, that definitely works. Question number 4. I'm always curious on this one, but who is your favorite person to follow on social media?
Oh, that's a good that's a good question because there are people that just crack me up. I love Joe Rogan because he is just always stirring it up. It's always something. I love Chris Tucker. He was in Money Talks with Paul, and he's just funny. He just goes out there. That's hilarious. So it's tough to nail it down to one person. But I definitely go with the funny people. Even though Joe Rogan's not a comedian, I laugh every time because it's like, what the heck is he going to say next? Who knows? But I tend to lean towards comedians.
And then question number 5. So this one, it's always my favorite question to ask. And for you, I'm really interested because you've worked with George, but you've worked with the President of the United States. You've obviously met so many people in Hollywood, but has there been that one moment where you absolutely fanboyed out? Either you saw somebody and you couldn't speak, or you saw somebody and you spoke way too much and maybe embarrassed yourself a little bit?
That is a very good question. Well, I'll tell you who scared the hell out of me was Barbara Bush. She walked in, and I was a fan of hers too. I was like, whoa, it's Barbara Bush. Because she's, she was like a kind of a big figure, like literally, she wasn't a small woman. And I heard the stories about how she didn't like it. Women couldn't really wear pants, or I don't know if they couldn't, but she didn't like it because she was kind of old school, wanted everybody to dress up. And I think I had pants on that day. That's what I immediately thought of. So I know that she kind of, because, I dealt with, when I was at the White House, I dealt with all kinds of celebrities. So they really didn't, because they were in a lot of trouble. I mean, I always said, I will never end up with this. I don't want to deal with celebrities because after the White House, they were all so difficult and they were children and they made me crazy. So for me to have married a celebrity and now be an actor is nuts. You would have never convinced me of that. Never at the time, because because it was President Bush and it was Clinton before that. And with Clinton, it was a frat house. They were allowed to do anything. When we came in, they're like, oh, we're so glad you're back. Because remember, it was George Bush Sr., then George Bush Jr. So you had a lot of the same people, and they were very strict about protocol, that sort of thing. Let me tell you what, and the Clintons would tell you this, I'm sure. Bill Clinton, there was no protocol. It was nuts. It was crazy. So I will tell you that right now, if I was there or, at the White, I don't know. I just never really had that. Not even when I met Paul. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should. But I will tell you now, if I met Tom Cruise, I'd be like, wow, it's great to meet you, because Paul loved it that he brought back the film industry. So he said it before Steven Spielberg. Well, I don't know. Steven Spielberg may have said it at the same time Paul did, but it was the last movie Paul saw. He was like, you know what? I thought the movie industry might be over, but because of Tom Cruise, we're back. So I have to say, if there was someone that I thought would be impressive to meet now that I might, turn my head, it would probably be him, because it was the last movie Paul saw. He did a scene with Paul in The Firm. And I really do admire what he does, because, there aren't very many movie stars left anymore. I've met Al Pacino. I've met Bob De Niro. I met all of them. And and I would say Al Pacino. I'm sorry for the long answer, but I'd say Al Pacino was a little bit like that. Robert De Niro was okay, but he was a little grumpy. He was nice, but he was kind of like, I don't want to be here or whatever. But Al Pacino couldn't have been nicer. He's like this tall, and he ran up to Paul, and it was just nice to see him. So I would say maybe Al Pacino a little bit that way, in a nice way, because he was so down to earth, and he was just a sweetheart, you know?
I mean, hey, long-winded. I'm never gonna be offended at long-winded.
Get to it because I'm really not easily affected. But Al Pacino was really like a great guy to meet. That was nice, and he was so sweet to Paul, and everybody loved Paul. You know, and Paul loved him. He goes, "Hey, Al, come over here," and he just like ran over, right? Because we were at the Beverly Hills Hotel, so that was pretty cool. I had forgotten about that, but yeah, I would say maybe Al.
That's really cool. I mean, obviously, and you've had. Your previous life and then your current and future, like you still have many years ahead. So you're definitely going to meet and interact with so many people. And did you ever think that when you were younger that you would be working with presidents, working with Hollywood royalty? Did you in your wildest dreams think that was possible?
Well, I knew I wasn't going to work at the dollar store. And I love the dollar store, by the way. I was just there. I get all my stuff at the dollar store because it's like right around the corner. Everybody laughs when I say that. I says, you go to the dollar store? I said, heck yeah, I do. They've got everything. But it's like, it's like 100 feet. So it's just so convenient. So anyway, no, I never thought I was going to be working at the dollar store. Not that that's a bad thing. But I always thought, even starting out, I had one foot in politics and a hand in entertainment. So I've always kind of walked that tightrope. So yeah, I think I always kind of thought I might do, I have a degree in history, and then I'm working on my master's degree in dramatic art. So that's taking a lot longer than I thought it would, because I've been a little busy. But yeah, I always kind of knew I would do something maybe in some sort of leadership. I never thought I'd be doing kind of a cog in a wheel thing, and cogs in a wheel are important. I'm not criticizing that, but you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then you mentioned your love of travel shows. Maybe you could do your own with your history, your background.
I would love it. I've talked about it with Roger, who of course, my manager. And in the next book I was kind of working on is a little bit like that. It could tie in, but isn't it? It's fun to travel, and I love our country, and there's so much to see and do. And if you incorporate a little history with where you are, along with food and drink, there are a lot of shutters are done that way, but there's room for more. So thank you for bringing that up. It's fun, right? I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I love traveling. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, then you should do that. And we'll meet in St. Louis or somewhere, or wherever you are, not Orlando and not Indiana. It has to be somewhere in maybe Nashville.
Yes, I've been to Nashville one time, and I definitely want to go back. So yes, we'll meet somewhere in the middle, and I think Nashville is a great city.
I love our country. There's so much to do and see, and with everything going on in the world, I'm kind of content to be right here. Even with crazy balloons coming over, floating over us. But the thought of going overseas, it's not that I think it's dangerous, but if something happens there, what hits the fan there, it's a little scary here. I'm like, all right, let's go in the bunker. Okay, whatever. I'm fine in Indiana.
Right.
If I'm in LA, I'm going to run. I don't want to be there, and I don't want to be in New York. But I feel very safe in Indiana.
Every movie, something happens to Los Angeles or New York City.
I know. That's why it's scary.
There's never one of those apocalypse movies that occurs in Indiana. So I think maybe you have it right.
Yeah, or Orlando. Everybody's very happy in Orlando, no problem. Except maybe Disney people. They may not be really happy coming up soon, but it is kind of funny. I mean, look, that is another show, and you probably have done it. But they were able to print money there. I mean, they had so much power with all of that. It was over the top, like almost. It was a dictatorship. So, I can see where they kind of came in, but I bet they are, man, because after you're used to having all these privileges, you don't want that to change. So that's understandable.
That's probably why there's no movies about the apocalypse in Orlando. They paid them off. Make sure that.
Yeah, and it's a happy place. Even with that, it's a happy place. People go to Orlando for happy things. And in fact, I went there not long before Paul died, because I told you we were in Florida, and he died in Jacksonville, actually. And let me tell you, when I was in Orlando was when Ray Liotta died.
Oh, I remember. Yes.
2 months before Paul died, about 2 months. And Paul was so upset about that. And I was at a podcast, sort of a podcast convention. I said, honey, would you mind if I do that? Because I'm like, even though I'm completely unprofessional and we just do it for fun, I thought maybe I should learn a little something. And, Jacksonville's not that far from there. He goes, yeah, go ahead. I said, are you sure? Are you okay with that? You want to come with me? He goes, no, I do not want to come with you, but you go. So then when I was there, we did a show about Ray Liotta because he had just died that day. So I knew Paul would be upset. So I kind of hurried back. I went back a little early because Paul was really upset when Ray died, because Ray was a young guy next to him and he just couldn't believe it. And, and I had people kind of thinking, oh, it'd be Paul that would be next. Well, then Paul was next. So, right. And Ray's about to get a star on a Walk of Fame, and we could very well do that for Paul too. We're just kind of taking everything slow. I mean, look, this wine, I didn't think we'd have this wine up so quickly. And part of me thought I need to wait a year, but I knew Paul wouldn't want that. He'd want me to go forward and do things because, I've been in very deep mourning and I haven't really been able to do much. But for it to be on Valentine's Day, it did seem appropriate. So thank you for asking that, because that was a back and forth thing. As something we wanted, but in the end, we're able to do it. So I feel good about that.
Fantastic. And we'll chat one more time about Sorvino Vino. Again, you can pick it up at sorvinovino.com, as it says right there. I absolutely love the branding on the bottle. I think that's great. And one thing that I think that a lot of people miss out on is the fact that you are donating some of the money to charity from your sales, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do like Feed the Hungry, but I want to make sure it goes to the right people. So, I'm going to like pick and choose myself. I'm going to personally be involved in that, whether it's kids that need school lunches or vets that need food. But this is to Feed the Hungry. Look, I mean, I don't feel comfortable selling wine and people are going hungry. So that's the most basic need is food. So we're going to try to feed some folks.
Fantastic. I love it.
Wine, and I'm happy to do that too. But, first let's get some food in their belly.
Absolutely. All right. So before we wrap up, where can folks find you on the social medias, and if they want to follow you, purchase your wine?
It's almost all just Dee Dee Sorvino, DeeDeeSorvino, Sorvino Vino, except for Twitter. And then I'm Dee Dee GOP. I kind of, I hung on to the GOP thing, and it's a little sentimental. So yeah, so it's all Dee Dee Sorvino except for Twitter, Dee Dee GOP, and follow me. And it's always lots of fun. And definitely, if you'll download Drinks with Dee Dee, if you want to have fun there, that's good. I mean, don't look for any. Although we do have very smart people on there, they just drink and then it goes nuts. So it is. It's a bar. It's a virtual bar. Cheers. Right.
It starts off here and then goes here. I love it.
It goes off the rails, definitely.
I love it. So, any last words before we wrap up?
Well, thank you. It's so nice to meet you, and I hope to see you at Temecula, or at the Emmys, or really at Charlie Hustle getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm so glad you brought that up. I think that's so cool that we're both Pete Rose fans.
Absolutely.
Go, I think Charlie Hustle. Woo!
There needs to be more. So again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you all for watching, listening, however you're doing it. If you haven't already, of course, hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, tell your friends. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.